Alright, so we got the old Caretaker cut out. We got our 5 ports exposed right there where we're going to glue on our new A&A. Down here was the old 35 PSI backup check valve. Those are required on Caretakers. On the A&A it's not. So we're removing that from the manifold right here. We're going to go straight over into the A&A. So we'll get that update here shortly. So we're going to go ahead and cut over A&A. This is the A&A 1.5" 5 port without the quick stop. And that's going to be a direct replacement for the Caretaker valve. But get this box open. And we'll go ahead and open up our valve. We'll go ahead and set our clamping nut to the side. Get our lid off. So the way this works is the water comes in through the top of the valve here, disperses into this diffuser, and then it rotates the water against this. As this spins, it has a gear set, and this bottom puck right here rotates around and lifts up these flaps one at a time and sends all the water to your grouping of your pop-ups. So the old Caretaker one worked off of a plunger system versus flaps and had a highly susceptible chance to deadheading and creating issues with your system. And it doesn't allow as good as water flow to the actual pop-up heads themselves. So the A&A is far superior, so that's why we went with that one. Alright, so we're going to get our pipes prepped with primer. Now we'll do a light primer on the A&A valve itself. Just make sure everything's lining up how we want it to. Yep. Now, I like to use the 746 glue on this. It's the gray heavy body. It dries a little bit slower, but gives you a lot more strength and time to play to get everything set. So now we'll go ahead. And get the glue onto our valve body. And we'll go ahead and set our valve. And we can come down on the inside and you can see your pipes came up all the way to the base. So we're all good there. Now we'll get the guts back in there and plumb on the lid. Alright, so when you're going to put the gears back in, you've got an assembly that looks something like this, or you could be pulling it out of a package to put in a new gear kit for your rebuild. So you'll have a parts bag that'll have everything kind of separated in it. So how I like to get the gears back in, I'm going to grab that washer. We got to make sure we put that back on for the spindle. But on the bottom side, these pucks pull off. And then we get our big washers, get that down in there with the stem. Push that down into place. Then we'll take our puck, push that down in there. We'll go ahead and close our flaps. Now when you put this back in there, you want to match up the square peg into the square female down there. So we have a little cheat hole that we can kind of look through down here, and we'll guide it in as best as we can at the start. First, we want to get our washer and like to use the long skinny flathead and just kind of guide it down in there. Then I'll kind of go through it. So now I got the washer locked in place. Now I'll guide this down on, and our top spindle washer is in place now. And down through the hole I can see that I'm pushed into place. So now I'll just push down and set it. So now the gears are in place with the gears inside the female body. And we'll put our top spindle on. And we're good to go with that. We'll get our lid back on. Now the lid, we're not gonna put the clamp on yet because we're gonna get our plumbing done. So now what we gotta do is we're gonna make a plumbing connection from this line right here coming as your outlet feed over there. And we are gonna put a union in between so that if we do ever have to replace the gears inside there, we're not cutting pipes. All right, so these water valves are 1.5" plumbing. We are starting with 2" over here. So we're gonna go ahead and glue our coupler on here with a reducer bushing down to 1.5". Go ahead and primer both sides of that. Get our primer on our 2" line. Coupler in place. Now our reducer. We already primered the other end of the coupler. I'll just go ahead and cut like a 3 to 4 inch piece, 1.5" pipe. I like to leave a little extra pipe. We're gonna put this in here and then glue our union on. But I like to leave a little bit of meat right here so that if we ever have to replace the union, there's something to glue onto. So wherever you can leave a little bit of bare pipe, instead of butting fittings together. I always try to do that. Little rotate while I push it in and hold it in place for a second, which should be good. Now we'll get our union. I like to have the nut of the union facing towards the water valve. It just helps with pressure, in my opinion. So your nut will stay on this side of the plumbing. So wipe that down a little bit. I'll set that up in place. When you go to glue your union, when they're separate pieces and you put the nut over there, make sure that you're putting the side that doesn't have threads with the nut so that you don't catch yourself in a bind and have to cut. Some people leave the union together while they glue it in place so they don't make that error. I don't like to leave the union in place because if both sides are touching, there's a chance that the excess glue can come down and get in between the two sides of the union and make your union a coupler instead. So after I'm done gluing, I make sure that I don't have any glue running out of the mouth right there. And just a little snug. And just gauge on that. I'll cut off my little excess. Get our lid. Primer of our pipe. Just a little swipe of primer inside there. Just to clean off any kind of dirt or anything. Give it a nice swipe of the glue. This one I like to hold for a few seconds, make sure that we don't get any push out on it. place. And then we'll come right down underneath our pipe right here and make our little notch of where the two pipes are meeting. Let's get that off. So there's where we need to make our cut. Clean off our burrs. Get the lid back down in place. Now we just want to look over here. So as you can see, these aren't quite lining up, so we need to take about a ½ inch off of there, roughly. For that, take my saw, kind of gauge where I need to be. Take off our union. We'll grab our 1.5" 90. Primer everything up except for the other end of the 90 that I'm holding on to. Glue. So that's our finished product of the A&A to Caretaker conversion. We're going to be doing that over on this side as well. You'll get to see a little bit of the difference. So that's what the Caretaker does look like. That's the 35-pound check valve line that I was telling you about that we removed from that side. Completely unnecessary now. So we're going to have way more optimum cleaning with those pop-up heads.